And the Rams, who landed Saturday morning, wiped the floor with Jacksonville, who'd been here for 6 days.
Trevor looked like he never picked up a football before in the first half.
Yeah, Trevor was playing like he was back under Urban Meyer. Like, I mean, don't get me wrong. Fans were leaving, gents, and I said this to you. We left in the fourth quarter with 10 minutes left because it was dead. It was dead. It was dead and done. It was 28-0. But by the end of the third quarter, before we left, people were already exiting the stadium in masses. Not like tens or fives. In masses, people were leaving the stadium. So yeah, it's a reflection on a poor show out by a poor Jacksonville. And again, I think their record is slightly deceptive because I put in the group, how did we lose to these absolute bums? Like, we beat the Rams, but we lost to the Jags. Like, how does that even work? They were terrible. And I don't care that as soon as we left the stadium, Jacksonville threw a touchdown to make it 28-7. But minutes later, the Rams just killed it 35. It was
We saw Travis Hunter's first NFL touchdown.
Yeah, I didn't. I left.
Right. I want to talk about Travis Hunter. You brought him on. Yes, we've seen him brilliantly, and he's doing well. But they've traded up to him. They moved multiple picks to go to the number 2 spot to go and get this guy, who is a two-way threat player. Played college two-way threat. He's meant to be this electric player both ways. I've done a bit of research onto this. Unfortunately, my screen's disappeared, so I can't give you the exact facts. But he's played 35% downs on defense, and yet he's played 69% on offense. They're using him wrong. He didn't even play a defensive snap on Sunday until midway through the third quarter.
I'll say he did because he got a PVU, but
yeah, but it wasn't until midway through the third quarter, whereas the 3rd and 3, and he was lined up man coverage against Devontae Adams.
Yeah,
not being funny. You don't want your first snap being midway through the third quarter and being against a future Hall of Famer. It's important. I mean, he's still on the board. He's still brought the player, but he did really well. But they're not using him correctly. They should be using him as predominantly as a cornerback because he's an electric cornerback. I think he's a better cornerback. And then dialing up 20, 30 plays that you can bring in when you need him on the offensive side of the ball because he's a good route runner and he's quick.
So I said this to you on Sunday. I think I've said this on the podcast before. I think he's a good wide receiver. And I think he's a good cornerback. But I don't think he's elite either.
Yeah, I get that. He is. I don't think they should have moved up for him. Yes, He was always going to go number 2 because of what he is and how he can do it. But yeah, I think they're using completely wrong. They used him more as predominantly as a corner, and then bring him in as a wide receiver, jet sweeps and stuff like that. It would have been so much better for him as his development, and then you can do it.
Let me pose a question to you. If he was just a cornerback, do you think he'd have gone in the first round?
No, he would have gone second.
If he was just a wide receiver, do you think he'd have gone in the first round?
He was a day 2 talent if he was one or t'other. I think I said that in one of the other episodes.
I get that he plays 2 ways, but if he's not that good at either, what's the point? Because
there's one reason, and it's the reason why. I can't remember who he is now. I think the Jag. I think he's at Kansas City. Matt Arizaya, who is a punter and a kicker. You have this guy who could do 2 skill sets. You can then have an extra space on the roster because you've got. He could be, for example, he could be WR. He could be the 4th choice wide receiver. He could be the 3rd choice cornerback. So you've got an extra spot on the roster. So you can bring in an extra player, maybe it be cornerback, maybe it be a linebacker, maybe it be a lineman. You can bring an extra player in. What's in your take on it, Mr. P?
I'm really sorry. I actually didn't hear much of that because my laptop keeps coming in and out of the audio, so I've missed quite a lot. So Hunter being a dual threat and not worth his draft place, is that what we're saying?
Correct.
Yeah, I don't think he was a player that Jacksonville needed. He's a player that Jacksonville wanted. That's why he's on the roster. I don't think he was a necessity.
So
He
you could
was a
obviously
bit-
see him a bit higher up.
he-
Did you?
yeah.
What did you make of his route running higher up?
So I felt across the whole day that his movement was really good. His breakaways from the Rams secondary was really good. He just suffered from Trevor not being able to get the ball to him.
Fair enough.
So from seeing it from that point of view, I actually thought he was actually quite phenomenal. Like I said, there was nothing to cheer about from a Jacksonville point of view. Their O-line wasn't blocking. Their run defense was appalling. They'd put no pressure onto 57-year-old quadriplegic Matt Stafford at all, completely. And I thought that was embarrassing, but he was able to get some separation. And I think from a wide receiving point of view, that is a quality asset to have. Being obviously able to beat whoever's covering you, to be able to kind of like manhandle out of coverage, double coverage. But Trevor Lawrence just couldn't consistently get the ball to him. I didn't see his touchdown. I haven't gone back and watched the highlights because I was there. I don't need to be reminded about how much I paid for a ticket and how bad the poor game was. But yeah, I don't think he's a star for Jacksonville, and you can see why they took him and why they moved up for him. I just don't see how this iteration, or even next season's version of the Jacksonville Jaguars, is actually going to get the best out of him. Because seeing him in person again for the third year, Trevor Lawrence is not him.
For me,
I'm
Jacksonville
convinced.
needed a car, and they got a Bentley, and now they can't afford to put it in a garage.
Perfect metaphor. Perfect
Right.
metaphor. Like they've forked out giving a ridiculous amount of money to Trevor Lawrence, who I know I keep going back onto it, but he is not, as much as I hate Matt Stafford. Matt Stafford is worth more currently than how much they're paying Trevor Lawrence for potential.
But
They're paying him $60 million a year for potential, that he might potentially be good one day. He's been in the league 5 years.
They're paying Trevor Lawrence a ton. They traded away a ton to go and get a player that we all decided they didn't really need.
Yeah.
And now, do they even have a first round pick next year?
No.
So they now can't build around their $60 million quarterback and their star guy that's only famous because he was coached by Deion Sanders.
See,